Hi there, everybody. I'm Fred Thomas, and you are watching All Things Bike. And today we are speaking with Bill Shattuck, Bart Lipinski, Lizzy Gunsalus, and Mark Gunsalus of the AP Junior Development Cycling Team. You guys, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
It's great to have you here. It feels like masters cycling in a way. It also feels like the future of New England cycling. I've got a lot of questions about AP Junior Development Team. But first, give us your background and connection to cycling, just in a general sense, right down the line. Start with you, Bill.
So, thanks for having us, Fred. We really appreciate it.
Anytime.
My background in cycling, as you know, we've raced together many times.
That's right, Wild Bill.
We've battled, yep. Had some really good times together.
Lots of sprint wins.
Been racing bikes for 20 some odd years. Developed excellent friendships with these two guys. Watched Mark's daughter grow up on the bike and now, so it was more of a natural progression for me, joining the team, getting asked to join. It was an honor, and I want to do it right. That's why I contacted you, and just trying to do the right thing by the kids and by the community itself.
Brilliant. How about you, Bart?
Kind of the same way. I've known all these guys for at least the last 10 or 12 years. And being a part of Corner Cycle, and now having a son that's on AP, like Bill said, just kind of seemed perfect to work together. So
great. I mean, so there's over 40 years of experience so far.
Yeah. So far.
And Lizzy, you represent the team and the future of New England bike racing. You just give us a sense of how you took to the bike.
Well, obviously my dad's been racing for a super long time.
Right.
And then once my brother got into it and stuff, I was like all in. I was like, I just want to be exactly like Greg.
I see.
So then I started racing. I've been racing for 7 years now.
I know, and you've been doing very well, and it's great to see. I mean, we should ask your father how you've matured and grown as a result. So I will. Mark, give us your background and
Sure.
And comment.
Well, I started out running, was my thing early in life, and transitioned to racing cars.
Oh gosh.
Love to race. When I had kids, I had to get out of the car racing thing just because of time commitment. Needed something to do racing, picked up bike racing.
Right.
And again, met these great people, and has just been a great ride racing bikes for 25 years.
That's great, yeah. So we're almost 100 years of bike racing, and that's great. I agree. I mean, I've known all you guys from the races, and I also agree. If I didn't have bike racing or the bike club, I'd have no friends and pretty much no life. So thank you. And so let's talk about the team. It's a junior development team. What's the background? What was the inspiration?
Well, the background is pretty extensive. We've been a team for almost 20 years, or maybe even a little over 20 years. So starting in the late 90s. George Sykes at Corner Cycle teamed up with Mike Keogh. He had obviously 5 boys, Keogh brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, and they race bikes and forever. I mean, a lot of them went on to the pro ranks. I think Luke is still racing, I believe.
Yeah.
And they wanted to have an infrastructure for these boys to excel. And so what happened was once that came together, Mike put the time into it, George, backed it, and then it just kind of blossomed that way. And then other kids gravitated towards it. And then over the years, it's had a few different names over the years based on the sponsors.
I see.
It's gone from the late 90s, early 2000s. The Keogh brothers took it. They went to cyclocross worlds, national championships and stuff. And then new kids came on.
Right.
And we really only take kids up to the age of 18.
Yeah.
And then new kids come in and we cycle out. So.
Yeah, I see. Well, what's the size of the team right now, and what are the disciplines?
Well, currently we have between 12 and 13 kids right now. We have different levels of kids. I mean, so we have kids as young as 9 years old. We have one kid that's 9 years old right now. He's a little guy, but he's enthusiastic,
brave,
and we want to teach him, teach him the right way.
I think that's what they're doing in Belgium. I think
exactly.
So.
And so we have kids from that age all the way up to about 17. James, Bart's son, is I think races as a 17-year-old, and then we have another boy that's a little bit older.
Right.
You know, and
that's a good range right there. Well,
Yeah.
talk about James and what he's focusing on and how he's embraced the program.
Yeah, I mean, he basically, I've been on corner cycle, raced with Sam Morse.
Yeah.
He ran the program for a big chunk of those 20 years with Nate. And James basically got involved. I was already going full blast with things, and Sam said, hey, here's a kit. You want to race, you know? And then he won like a Rhode Island championships, time trials at like 12.
Wow.
Just having fun, you know, and you know, now as he's getting older, he's definitely understands things more, and you know, I think his focus went more of road racing, which is probably the smallest part of our team. Most of our team is mountain biking, cyclocross.
Yeah, understand.
This year he had a good year. He raced in Ireland, nationals in Maryland, and you know, he's really.
He's blossomed. I mean, he sounds
Yeah.
like
So this year, you know,
Exactly.
You know, we got people that cyclocross. You know, everybody has their own kind of thing, and we help everybody kind of get geared up for things. You know, for whatever they want to go for, and all of us try to be. I mean, every weekend of the cross season, there's one of us at every race. Pretty much.
Describe your roles, and I mean, you all have coaching backgrounds, and then you've got 15 kids or so, 12 to 15 kids. Yeah, how do you practice, and how do you get them to races, and how do you divide the work?
Our specific roles within the team are really just the three of us kind of just talk, and we. I don't want to use the word wing it, but we basically will say to each other, see, this is what we want to do this weekend, what can you do? And each one of us will come up with a huge chunk of our time based on either a full weekend race or just a one-day race. And like Bart said, one of us will definitely be there. As far as like practices go and that structure of it, we're kind of unique. The boys and girls on the team actually are responsible to train themselves, although we do coach the kids. Bart and I split up most of the kids on the team, and then there's a couple other kids on the team that have personal private coaches on the side. So it's their responsibility to train on their own. These kids are self-motivated. They love to race their bikes. And part of racing is the competitiveness. And these boys and girls are just the most competitive kids you've seen. And so they do not want to show up in a race and finish on the back. And they know at this young age that if they don't prepare themselves during the week, that's what will happen. And they don't want that.
No, not at all.
So, no, not at all. They're crazy about it.
Yeah, no, I understand. So, I mean,
it
sounds about right, Lizzy. I mean, because you've had a great career. I mean, but first, I mean, I think what I'd love to hear from you is describing exactly a junior cyclocross race for everyone, because not everyone is, fully knows how it works. And please let us know what it's like to have your parents in the stands and how you deal with that.
Well, honestly, I think the biggest aspect to junior cross racing is like just having fun. It's like no pressure sport kind of thing.
Wonderful.
Like everyone shows up. It's usually early in the morning, so you'll race. They're usually pretty short. They're like 30-minute races, and all the boys and girls will go together. Sometimes at the bigger races, you'll race with some like 5 women, which is another challenge to that.
Sure.
But after that, really, you have the entire day to just hang out. I think that was the biggest part when I was like younger, like 9, 10 years old, when I was racing those races. I think what I looked forward to is watching the pros race after that.
Wow, yeah, and being so close to them, right? I mean, they're right there, and you can go and say hello.
Everyone's super close in the sport. I just like the vibe.
No, that's great, but it is competitive, right? On some level, I mean, you have rivalries, and you're trying to advance, and then when you get outside of New England, I imagine you don't know these people, and suddenly. It's more competitive. I mean, how has that sort of changed you, or how has that shaped your personality?
Well, I think that it's made me a lot more mature with the whole cycling thing. Like, I've gotten like a lot better with traveling, and like you just learn a lot from everyone. Like my brother, I've learned so much from. It's like you look up to these people.
Yeah, that's great. All right, and I mean, you're so lucky. Your father is a famous and established racer in New England, and you went right for it. I mean, he gave you the sort of the direction, but you went for it.
Yeah.
Give us some inspiration or some ideas on that.
Well, I mean, when I was like younger, I did like a bunch of different sports. My parents were never forced me into this sport. I tried like basketball, dance, gymnastics, all that stuff until I think I was about like 10.
Yeah.
And then I decided I wasn't like about those sports, and I was cycling all the way. I think it's the kids should be able to decide if they want to do this.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, if they don't want to do it, it's not going to be fun.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mark? I mean, is this what you expected? Do you think? I mean, were you expecting Lizzy to
really far
embrace
surpassed everything I thought. They've taken it to a whole new level from where I was. Couldn't be prouder of Greg and Lizzy. And just another point about the team is one of the things, as coaches on the team, I mean, it's important for us to communicate with the kids, but I think really the secret sauce is like the older, more senior kids helping the junior kids.
Right.
And I think that's what it's all about. And Lizzy mentioned it. You see so much of that, and it's really important for them to learn from others.
Yeah.
And then kind of take that information and kind of make it work for them, if you will. But Lizzy and Greg came up through AP. Funny story. I was racing in Plymouth, and George Sykes and I, we've been friends for a long time. And Greg was with me racing, and George, right with two of us, said, "Hey, Greg, see if the old man will let you ride for." At that time, it was C.L. Noonan, which now is AP Junior Development. So Greg started riding at 9 on the team and started competing.
Wow.
Lizzy actually started early in that. She started when she was around 5. Both Greg and Lizzy were BMXing. That's how they cut their teeth.
I see.
Yeah.
And we'd go Friday nights, Whip City in Westfield, Mass., and we would ride BMX bikes. I started BMXing at 42.
Never too late.
Which is a whole other story. But we had a lot of fun with that. They learned how to ride bikes.
Yeah.
They gained skills and took it from there.
And have fun. I mean, because you're hanging out with your peers and the boys and the girls, and the bike is the great big equalizer, I suppose. But what do the parents of all the athletes think of all this? I mean, what has been their reaction?
Yeah, I mean, we just had a long discussion about this and before we came in to try to quantify the parents' role and if you, I hope these guys agree that I was thinking that not only do you coach the kids, but you coach the parents,
Right.
and because we're not a traditional sport, we're not stick and ball sports, and we don't have structured practices. We don't have the after school type of thing. These kids are, like I said, they need to go out on their own. They need to be self-motivated. Bart and I were talking about it earlier today, just this past weekend in Gloucester.
Yeah.
Just the amount of preparation that goes into a weekend race like that in a cyclocross
For everyone.
series. For everybody.
Yeah.
And the parents, I mean, not to focus solely on what their responsibilities are, because we want to teach the kids their own responsibilities, but a lot of questions were, "Hey, Bill, it's raining. What do we do?"
Are they still going to race?
Yeah, exactly. Or it's raining. Did I bring the right tires? What tire pressure should I be running? Stuff like that.
Right,
and and that's part of what we do. And that might not, like, we might not try to sell that when we try to recruit a kid, but that's invaluable, because most of the things that I remember when I first started revolved right around that. Right around, like, one of my mentors, Mark's gonna laugh, but Johnny Bold was one of the guys you took. Right?
I know Johnny.
I mean, he taught me so much.
Legend.
And
sure.
complete legend. And he taught me so much.
Put it in the 11 and pedal harder.
Yeah. And one of the things he told me, and because I train with the kids a lot, I might stop me from rambling.
No.
I train with the kids a lot because a couple of the kids that I coach live close, and we set up a cross track. And one of the things they always say is that, "Oh my God, you went around that corner so much faster than I did, but then I'm right on your wheel. What happened?" I said, "Well," we call him JB. I said, "JB told me if you don't crash at least once in warm-ups, you're not doing it right."
Yeah, right.
And And I try to teach the kids that, not to be afraid to push the limit.
Right.
Not be afraid to see where it's going to take you.
Yeah.
I know Lizzy will definitely agree. She's moving up. She raced with the men this weekend.
What?
And
That's
she was probably the only the only person I saw, because these were adult men, not kids.
Yeah.
Riding up 3 sets of stairs.
Yeah, wow.
So
That's real
you
skill.
don't get that without somebody telling you.
You have to learn that when
You can do this.
Yeah.
Try it.
Try it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Try
if you try it when you're 9, you bounce a little bit better
Yeah.
than when you're 49.
Absolutely.
And
Exactly.
It takes the mystery out of it.
And kids don't have that fear that the adults have.
Yeah.
I gotta go to work tomorrow. I'm not gonna push this corner.
I know.
But
to be young again.
yeah, exactly.
Well,
But that's why we're here to
yeah,
show them that.
That's great. How can do the parents see the results, and do they sort of have an epiphany and say, "Wow, this is what have I been doing, sending junior to football practice?"
From my perspective, they absolutely do. They absolutely do. I hope these guys agree, but this weekend was a definite eye-opener for them.
Yeah, well, tell us a little bit about it. Well, let's start with you, Lizzy. Tell us about your race, and then we'll try and get a sense of what the parents and the spectators were doing. But give us a race report.
Well, yesterday and Saturday I raced with the Cat 3 men.
Okay, and this is Gloucester Grand Prix.
Yes,
Grand Prix of
yes.
Gloucester, one of the
There were
biggest
like-
New
yeah.
England cyclocross races.
Yeah.
Go
There
on.
were like 120 guys and then me.
Wow.
Yeah.
In which category? Where did
Cat
they?
3 men.
Cat 3 men.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Because I'm not old enough yet to race like the elite women races because I have to have a UCI license.
Okay.
So next year I can race
Next
them.
year, yeah. Oh my
But
gosh.
my only 2 options are 3 women and 3 men. And
yeah.
last year I was winning the 3 women, so I wasn't
So,
getting
yeah.
any fitness out of it.
That's right. So this was a little bit outside of the comfort zone.
Yes.
But go on. Yeah, tell us what happened.
So basically, I started 8th, 9th row out of maybe like 20.
60th, yeah.
Yeah, 60th. And the races are like 10 minutes longer than I'm used to because I'm not at the front of it. And basically, my goal is to just hang on like as long as I possibly can. These races I'm going like 30 seconds faster per lap than I'm used to.
Sure, yeah.
And they're just a completely different like level of racing.
Sure.
It's so much harder to race for mid-pack, like 50th,
Oh, yeah.
than winning it.
I know a lot about
it's
that.
a completely different feeling.
Yeah, but you got through. I mean, what was the hardest part? Was it the run-ups or the
Honestly,
just
I don't think that
flat?
the technical parts weren't any issues for me. It was just matching the power of these guys. They're
Right.
the
Yeah.
Cat 3 men. They're like very, very powerful, but they can't turn their bikes for their lives.
That's right. They got all the power, but no
Yes.
skill. Yeah.
So it's a good place for me to be because I'm seeking new depths.
Wow. Yeah. So you're going to do that all season
Yes.
in the threes?
Yes.
Wow. That's fantastic. Well, I'm impressed. But so now, does your mother know anything about this? I mean, is she? I mean, and
Oh, yeah.
because I imagine
big
some.
Very
supporter,
involved.
big supporter.
Okay, great. So because I thought some parents would be like,
She's home nursing Greg with a broken collarbone.
Yeah.
oh, okay. So she's totally jaded and used to all this. What about all the other parents? I mean, cyclocross is, in terms of the risk level, I mean, yes, you fall off your bike, but you're not going 50 miles an hour. I mean,
that's the good thing about cross. And this weekend, as an example, Bill talked about always trying to push somebody out of their comfort level.
Right.
Good thing about cross is 90% of the time you're on dirt. Kids go down in the dirt, they bounce up, and they get going.
Yeah.
It's not like crashing at 30 miles an hour on pavement or something like that.
Right.
You mentioned parents. Half the time we have our tent and a group of kids and parents, and we'll explain to the parents. When do we got to start warming up? When do we have to get to the start? I'll check tires with a pressure gauge because parents don't really know what to set them at for certain races, and conditions are constantly changing. We mentioned, everybody was looking for dry days, and we had a rainy day all day Saturday, so you're making adjustments. But the parents are, they're
enthusiastic still. I mean,
and they're yelling and screaming, and I think having more fun than the kids sometimes. And a great thing like this weekend is, we had 2 kids in one of the races that were, same team going at it, just one after the other, going at it, back and forth. They wouldn't let the other one get by, and then the race is over and everybody's friends and everybody's laughing and joking. So, you know, that goes back to what Lizzy was saying, where, you know, everybody's just helpful, no matter if you're on the same team. Yeah. You know, I know a bunch of the guys are done and they change and then they take off on their bikes for the rest of the day, and they're hanging out with kids from all different teams and all over the place, you know, different parts of the state, or, you know, different states. Everybody makes friends, and then they race hard, and then they go and hang out.
Yeah, I mean, just the nature of the setting is different from the football field or the soccer field. Yeah. At the end of it, I mean, because you're all there, you race, but you're all still milling around, and you do get to know your competitors, and you realize that they're pretty nice people too. What are the challenges of running a junior development cycling team? I know there are a few.
Well,
the most important one that we can solve
is money. You know, this year we were lucky enough to obtain charity status. So Bart worked a lot on that, and we were able to register as a charity organization. Yes,
3C. Yeah, that's great.
You know, we're hoping to. We don't provide the kids with absolutely everything. Mm-hmm. I mean, no youth sport does, no high school sport or any kind of sport does. But what we want to do is we want to get them into that entry level point, and we want to provide them with the equipment that's going to help them excel.
Right.
You know, as well as probably the people watching this, that you can't get a bike at Walmart for a couple $100 and jump in Gloucester cross. No. You know, it's just not going to happen. Right. And so the bikes themselves are expensive. The equipment to make that bike raceable is expensive. Mm-hmm. The clothing, you're not going to show up in a pair of jeans and tennis shoes and race. So there's that. Yeah. We're lucky enough to have George Sykes at Corner Cycle provide the team with clothing. Right. And not just clothing, but, you know, top of the line clothing from Verge. Yeah. Just things like that. I mean, if we can raise enough money for 2019, we're looking to become a little bit more supportive and organized. Mm-hmm. The three of us are, you know, planning on travel and all things that, you know, come with bike racing across the Northeast.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, if people see the results and hear the great stories, you'll be surprised at what comes out of the woodwork, because for sure there's no shortage of bikes around, especially cyclocross bikes. As we speak, there's a shipload of them coming. Yeah. And there's a lot of secondhand equipment around. Mm-hmm. But I think it's the stories, is what you just described, that will, I think, get people behind it, and
that's what we hope.
Yeah, well, that'll be a reward. Are there any other challenges? I mean, there's gear, financing. How about let's talk about rewards and benefits, and if another challenge comes up, mention it. Can you think of some of the rewards?
Well, I think, seeing a kid, Saturday in the rain, in the mud, and cyclocross is hard. It hurts. And they're smiling, Mm-hmm. So I think, as a coach of the team, as a parent to as a kid that races, and they don't have to, win. Yeah. I think they all go into a race with some sort of a goal that they want to finish ahead of their friend, or, make a top 20 or a top 10, and I don't think I've ever seen a kid finish a race and not really be smiling.
Right. Yeah. Glad it's over.
Well, that's a part of it, but
also the accomplishment.
Yeah, and then they hop back on the bike and ride around the rest of the day. So I think, like you mentioned, we do a little bit of coaching with these kids, and sometimes we have to slow them down,
right?
Because they just want to.
They want to go a million miles an hour, And there's one good picture that one of the parents took that on Saturday. We have a modest-sized tent, and next against all these big corporation tents in the parking lot, and we had all 5 boys jammed under the tent, pouring rain, on trainers, with giant smiles on their faces. And when I was already racing, so I didn't get to see it. Right. But when I saw the picture, I was like, you know what? That's it right there.
Yeah.
Like, who wouldn't want to help us? Who wouldn't want to support us with
well,
this?
And no screens, and you're outdoors, and there's no
screens.
I thought you were, I mean, it's great to.
Yeah, it's old school.
Yeah. And look how we turned out, right? As a result of
exactly.
outdoor activities. Well, I mean, that's great. Well, I think, I mean, the stories and the pictures will speak for themselves.
Yeah.
I want to ask Lizzy just a few more questions so people have an idea of racing at your level. Is there a skill that you really have to have in cyclocross that will give you an advantage
Honestly,
in a race?
I think it's just the mentality. You have to be able to be determined and actually want to be in the sport. If you're not having fun, you're not going to do well. I really believe that.
Okay, yeah, that's great. And how do you get that? I mean, you don't just get there automatically. I guess it comes from some training, right? I mean,
you have to have the time.
Right.
I really think that when you really want to start doing well, you have to just commit to it.
Right.
I had to end all of the other sports that I was doing because I had goals in this sport, and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do it unless I committed to it.
And what kind of training? What's the training schedule? I mean, is your father kicking you out of bed at 6 in the morning and saying,
No, it's
"Go
usually
ride"?
after
Other way
school.
around.
It's pretty flexible.
Okay.
Because obviously school comes first before all of this training. So school work, and then whatever we have time after that is training. I ride it almost every single day.
That's great. Yeah, and you can go to school and race your bike. I mean, the two are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, we don't have. We preach and advise the kids that obviously school is the highest priority. Not only just school, but school sports too. I personally encourage the kids that I coach that are on the team to participate in the school sports on top of the cycling. I think that branching out at a young age, when they get older, it's perfectly acceptable to specialize. But I also think that kids that need the school memories too. I mean, that's one of the biggest memories I have is playing team sports in high school. But I think balancing both is doable. I have a kid right now who's excelling in cyclocross and cross country running. He's doing both, and he's doing well in both. And I think that's kind of important right now.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
Age.
Yeah, I think you can, to zero in on something too early, it runs the risk of burnout.
Absolutely.
And then,
Plus you lose the memories. I mean, he's got 2 teams now.
Yeah.
And so.
Wow. Well, what are the longer term goals for the team? I mean, you mentioned traveling. Talk about that.
Well, this year was a transition year. Our longtime director, Sam Morse, kind of gave us the team this year. He's still very much involved in all aspects. He's given us a tremendous amount of guidance, especially me. Very grateful to him for helping me. And I think this year was the first year that the 3 of us have worked together like this. I think in 2019, we just want to be more organized.
Yeah, small steps.
I guess, yeah.
Well,
and we want to work together and build. We want to become the face of the team now.
Right.
We want to put the kids first, but we also want people.
New management.
Yeah, one thing that Bart said, and Mark said the same thing, is that when we had a meeting earlier this year, and George said to us, always bring extra kit to the races, always. And one of the questions I asked him, well, what's the limit? He says, there's no limit. He says, if a kid wants to be on the team, you put him on the team.
Right.
And I've taken that to heart, and I've always bring. At least recently, I've always tried to bring extra kit. And if I see a kid,
here you are.
Absolutely.
You made the team.
Are you going to race today? Yeah, I am. Well, here, wear this.
No,
it hasn't happened yet in cross, but we plan on it.
It will. Yeah.
So,
either that or.
I think too, we want to keep this thing going. It's been going for a long time.
Yeah.
Everybody that's kind of got it to this point, we want to keep it going for Alec's name.
Yeah.
We're not just a club that shows up with a bunch of new kids. I mean, there's a lot of history to this team. There's a lot of guys that came through this program that are in the Pro Tour now.
That's right.
Yeah.
you know, and you know, we might never be an elite team that's traveling all over the world, but we're definitely kind of that diving board that's going to get kids to the point where if they want to take it serious, that they have an option. So, you know, bringing the kids to the races, telling them stories, telling them advice, you know, what to do, you know, we're just going to pass on this 107 years of experience, you know, to anybody that shows up and that wants to race for us.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
That's the rewarding part, is we provide them a platform to learn.
Right.
And as Bill said, some athletes want to do cross country, want to do cyclocross too. That's great. They're making it balanced, they're working it. Lizzy decided to focus on it with specific goals. So, I mean, you can kind of formulate the plan for the kid and let them do what they want with it. Everywhere from have fun to have goals where, you know, Lizzy's been fortunate enough to win 2 national titles. Greg did 3 World Cups last year with Team USA.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, you know, some of our
Sky's the
kids
limit.
really take their goals to a very serious level. And I think that's the balance, right? Don't push them. You know, Lizzy wasn't pushed to win a title. Greg wasn't pushed to go there. Our other kids aren't pushed. We try to just facilitate and let them take it where they want to take it.
Wow, well, that's great stuff. I mean, I think it's going to work. I mean, I'm glad that you stepped in and that you didn't let this this program sort of fall by the wayside, and you've become a charitable organization. That's a big achievement, and it opens up all sorts of options. And it's great. And Lizzy, thanks for running with the bike, as one might say. Maybe you can say that in cyclocross. But thanks all of you for coming down and telling us about it. Yeah. It's great stuff. Best of luck, and we'll be following the developments closely.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
All right, everybody. That was Bill Shattuck, Bart Lipinski, Lizzy Gunsalus, and Mark Gunsalus of the AP Junior Development Cycling Team. That's all we got time for right now. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you again soon.
All Things Bike is brought to you by Fitworks, rider-first bike fitting, rider-matched bike sales. Locations in Peabody, Massachusetts, Waitsfield, Vermont, and Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. And Frame and Wheel, eBay selling services for cyclists, bike shops, and bicycle companies. Time, space, cash. Pick 3. And AD Bikes, the modern face of Austro-Daimler cycling and the bike company of the future.